We'll put some background music on. Second part. From the beginning. Try it. Turn to page 142 for Shalom Aleichem, welcoming in those Sabbath angels. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Bochem. Boachem leshalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Melech malachei amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni leshalom, malachei hashalom, malachei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seitchem leshalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Melech malachei amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Nice to step into Shabbat just to kind of breathe and be and to put everything that happened this week behind us and just be present in this sacred time. And to kind of help ease us into Shabbat, I want to invite Alicia Eckersley to lead us in the reading before the lighting of the Shabbat candles. It's on page 121.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
That is bizarre. Oh, okay. Fire hazard here. Sorry. Okay. So I'm going to Okay, we're good. Baruch atah
Adonai
Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik neh shel Shabbat. Thank you.
Shabbat Shalom. Thanks, Alicia.
Shalom. So we're going to turn now to Kabbalat Shabbat, our service for welcoming in Shabbat, starting with Psalm 95. Lechu neranena ladonai. Let's sing joyously to Adonai. If you don't know the words, you can always sing Yelalai. That works too.
Page 130.
Lechu neranena ladonai, nariya letzur yishenu. Lechu neranena ladonai, nariya letzur yishenu. Nekadma fanav betodah, mizmirot nariya lo. Nekadma Sapru v'goyim kevodo bechol ha'amim nifleotav ki gadol Adonai u'olam meod lo ra'u al kol Elohim ay lay 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 lay. Hoshia lo yaminos roa koshodia Adonai Yeshuato leine agoim gilasi kato zachar chaso emunato lebeit Yisrael ra'u kol afsei haaretz et Yeshuat Eloheinu Adonai Gola top of 134, those top two lines. Zameru l'Adonai bechinor, bechinor v'kol zimra. Zameru l'Adonai bechinor, bechinor v'kol zimra. Zameru, zamro, l'Adonai. Zameru, zamro, l'Adonai. Zameru l'Adonai bechinor, bechinor v'kol zimra. Zameru l'Adonai bechinor, bechinor v'kol zimra. So we're ready to turn to Lecha Dodi, Come My Beloved, to meet the Shabbat bride, page 138. When we get to that last verse, we'll all rise and face the entrance to greet her. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat lekavela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat lekavela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, ishmi'anu elam yuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shemo tiferet v'litfila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat lekavela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat lekavela. Verse 2. Likrat Shabbat lecho v'necha, ki hi mekor haveracha. Berosh mikedem mesucha, sof maaseh b'machshavat tchila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat lekavela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat lekavela. Verse 3. Mikdash melech ir melucha, kumi tzei mitoch ha'afrecha. Rav lach shevet ve'mekavacha, ve'hu yachamol alaychem la. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat lekavela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat lekavela. Verse 5. Hitoreri, hitoreri, ki ma'orech umi ori. Uri, uri, shitaveri, kevod Adonai alayich nigla. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat lekavela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat lekavela.
Rise and face the door.
Boi v'shalom, ateret bala, gam besimcha u'betola. Toch emunei an segula,
standing and turn ahead to page 263 as we prepare for Chatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
Amen.
שלמה דברי חירותי וימליך מלכותי. וחייכונו ויומכון וחיי דכל בית ישראל. בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם עולם מעמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשא בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירן בעלמא ויאמרו אמן. ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
Baruch Adonai המבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
Please be seated and join together as we give thanks for the evening and all of its blessings on page 265. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim b'chokhmah poteach she'arim ובתבונה משנה עתים ומחליף את הזמנים ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה, גולל אור מפני חושך וחושך מפני אור. ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה. אדוני צבאות שמו.
אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב ערבים. אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו ובקומנו, נשיח בחוקך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך, לעולם לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו באורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה. באהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם. בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
We'll join together in Mi Chamocha now on page 270.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר וקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה ליאנו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי ודע אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך. אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני, הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
I had this past week, one of the things, it's really a great thing that happens a few times a year is we have high school groups who come to visit Temple Sholom and learn about Judaism. Actually, we had a group from Churchill just behind us, which was nice, and as well as Point Grey. And I always tell the students when I try to explain Shabbat as kind of like this central jewel of Judaism, of what it means to be Jewish and to observe Shabbat, and I talk about the day of rest, and I said, there's lots of different ways we observe Shabbat, but one modern way to think about it is, to unplug for the day, to really, and I said some Jews literally do this and don't use, any electronics for the day, and others more conceptually do that as well. And I said, could you imagine not using your phone for a whole 24 hours? Would that be good or bad? And all the teachers went, good, and all the kids went, bad. And, I expected that. But I think that sometimes, there's so much to gain in our lives by just literally unplugging, but also taking that intentionality behind how we live our lives and our week. And Shabbat is the biggest gift in that way, to allow us to kind of place boundaries on our work, to place boundaries on our energy, to allow ourselves to recharge and to just be. So if we think about that, we'll join together on page 272 in Vishamru.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, ביני ובין בני ישראל, ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. ים ברי שבת שבת ים ברי שבת שבת ים ברי שבת 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 שלום. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. ים ברי שבת שבת ים ברי שבת שבת ים ברי Shabbat, 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 Shalom.
So as we rise now and turn to page 273, we begin to prepare for the Amidah with these beautiful words. Adonai, open my lips that my mouth might declare your praise.
Adonai sfatai tiftach, Adonai sfatai tiftach, ufi yagid tehilatecha, ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai sfatai tiftach, Adonai sfatai tiftach, ufi yagid tehilatecha, ufi yagid tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imoteinu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'hanora, Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'koneh Hakol, Ve'zocher Chasdei Avot ve'imahot, U'mevii geula livnei bneihem, Lema'an shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham be'ezrat Sarah, Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye metim ata rav le'oshia, Mashiv haruach u'morid hagashem, Mechakel chayim bechesed, Mechaye metim berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofech cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar, Michamocha bal gevurot, Umido melech, Melech memit umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua v'leman ata lachayot metim, Baruch atah Adonai mechayeh hametim. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kdoshim b'chol yom yalelu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh.
Amen. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh.
Amen.
Please be seated. On page 279, we'll join in Ritzeh.
Ritzeh Adonai Eloheinu be'amecha Yisrael u'tefilatam be'ahava tekabel u'tehile ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael Yisrael Amecha El Karov Lechol Korav Penei El Avadecha Vechoneinu Shefoch Rochacha Aleinu Letechezena Ineinu Beshuvecha LeZion Verachamim Baruch atah Adonai Amachazir Shechinato LeZion
our gratitude that we hold in our prayers each time we gather. We share in these words of Al Nisecha Shebachol Yom Imanu, for all of the wonders and the miracles with us each day. It's on page 280, 4 lines from the bottom.
ועל ניסך שבכל יום ערב הבוקר, ערב הבוקר וצהריים, מעולם קיווינו לך, מעולם קיווינו לך. הטוב כי לא חלו רחמך, והמרחם כי לא תמו חסדיך, מעולם קיווינו לך, מעולם קיווינו לך.
Our prayer for Shalom is on page 282. Shalom Rav.
שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל, בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם, תשים לעולם.
Take a few moments now for silent prayer.
עושה שלום במרומה, הוא יעשה שלום, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, יעשה שלום עלינו, עושה שלום במרומה. שלום עלינו, עשה שלום עלינו ועל כל voice as one, and we say Amen.
We'll turn our attention now to page 371 as we offer a Misha Berach, a prayer of healing for those, so many in our community who are struggling with health and hoping that they might find healing in the time to come. Especially this Shabbat, we think of Eric Schneider, Michael Green, Ruth Fraxon, Tzemach ben Menashe Halevi Verikla, Meir Tzvi, Chana bat Sara v'Shmuel, Meir Zalman ben Rachel, Daniel Gottesman, Bill Shaw, Sarah Chiachi, Claire Columbia, David Hansen, Jack Karp, Dan Badash, Victor Lewin, Matt Good, Leisha Eckersley, Tsipa Bat Ita, Leto and Jay, Asher Gavriel ben Mordechai Yoshua Vasara Elishev, David Coulter, Apollonia Wilczynski, Elena Cobb, Carla Zivit, Janet Gelb, Jean Angus, Judy Steiner Losberg, David Shlomo Gorney, Andrea Jarzbiak. I invite you, if there are other people whose names you wish to mention, if you would stand and share them at this time.
Sheberach avotenu mekol habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Perfect timing. Shabbat Shalom again, everyone. Really glad to see all of you. I'll just share there are many, many announcements in our handout tonight. I won't read all of them, but just a few to mention. One is that I don't know if we've shared so much in Shabbat services, so I will tonight, and since it's in here, we started a new program, an outreach program called Mazel Tots, which is very cute. It is an extension of our East Side Jews program that's really kind of a late afternoon drop-in program at Trout Lake Community Center. It's intended for kids between 2 and 5 years old, and to bring a parent, grandparents. Many grandparents are attending. We just started it a few weeks ago. It's been really, really lovely. So we just opened the registration for the February dates, so if you have children in your life that are around that age, please do join us for that. We have our next Shalom Shishim lunch will be on February the 7th. It is really going to be a lovely visit with author Eleanor Boyle. who's going to be speaking about her book, Mobilize Food, really thinking about kind of how we think about food and waste and the environment and all sorts of things. So that should be interesting. And you can sign up online or phone the office. Probably most importantly, or two things actually I'll say. One is that our congregational town hall is coming up. You hopefully saw the email from Dan Steiner, our temple president, today. This will be on February the 12th. That's a Sunday. It's going to be at the same time as religious school is happening at 11 a.m. Really thinking about looking forward as we're thinking about ways to make sure that both our cemetery and our building are up to date and really appropriate for the needs of our growing community. So come hear a little bit about some visions that people have been thinking about, but really we want to get congregational feedback. So we hope that you'll join us for that on the 12th. Finally, as I've mentioned last week, we have a congregational book club that we are offering this year because of course, it's Israel's 75th birthday coming up in May. And we are reading together Daniel Sokach's book, Can We Talk About Israel? A Guide for the Curious, Confused, and Conflicted. It's really a very good history of Israel and really thinking about kind of how the current events of today, really are, he explains them, but also thinking about the background of kind of how we got to where we are. So there's kind of two parts to this book club. Well, I guess the first part is reading the book. So read the book. You can actually pick them up here. We have some copies for sale in the office or online or bookstores, wherever you get books. But there's going to be two book discussion groups on February 26 and 27, one in person, one on Zoom, and the information is here. And then later in March, the author, Daniel Sokach, is going to join us by Zoom so that we can have a bigger conversation with him about the book and his ideas. He's the head of the New Israel Fund in the United States. He's based in San Francisco. So it should be very, very interesting. Okay, so I'm wondering if anyone here has ever suffered from imposter syndrome. And I'm not talking about new congressmen in the United States House of Representatives. I know I definitely have experienced that phenomenon of imposter syndrome. I mean, I think many parents have the experience, like I remember driving home with my firstborn child in the back seat and thinking like, why did they let us leave with this baby? We don't know what we're doing. Okay, or I think many people have professional imposter syndrome too, and I clearly remember my first year, 15 years, whatever, as a rabbi, looking over my shoulder when someone would say rabbi. Ooh, what? Now, imposter syndrome is widespread. I think it's something that many, many people experience, and it's had this kind of title of this imposter phenomenon from the 1970s. It actually came out of a study in Georgia State, where there was a study of therapists who realized that there were many, particularly women, who were very high achieving, but had a secret sense that they were not as capable as others thought about them. And since then, it's been well documented that this fear of being an imposter is pretty common in people of all ages. Now, the very best example I ever read of imposter syndrome is this anecdote. It's by Neil Gaiman, the British author, and he describes his own battle with imposter syndrome and tells this story. He said he was invited to this gathering of great and good people. It was artists and scientists and authors and discoverers of things. And he said, I felt that at any moment they would realize that I didn't qualify to be there. And then he mentioned how he was standing at the back of the room because he didn't really want to sit at the front because he didn't think he fit in. And he was talking to this nice, polite, elderly gentleman about several things, including that they shared a first name. They were both Neil. And he pointed to the hall of people and he said, and this other Neil number 2, he said, I just look at all these people and I think, what am I doing here? They've made amazing things. I just went where they told me to go. And Neil Gaiman looked at the other Neil and realized who he was, and he said, yeah, but you were the first man on the moon. I think that counts for something. And Neil Gaiman said, I felt a bit better because if Neil Armstrong felt like an imposter, maybe everyone did. So I think that this is exactly how Moses was feeling in this week's Parashah Va'era. The beginning of the Torah portion talks about God's promises to free the Israelites. That God appeared to our ancestors, established a covenant with them, and now hears their pain in bondage. And God remembers the people and says, I will free you. So he tells Moses to go, and Moses goes and tells the people that this is going to happen, and nothing. They don't listen. The people, the Torah says, it's actually this really poignant verse, says their spirits were crushed by cruel bondage. So what does God do? God says, Moses, go back, but you need to talk to Pharaoh. Talk to Pharaoh. And here is where Moses' imposter syndrome shines just so strongly. Basically, Moses is saying, what, your own people won't listen to me. You want me to go and confront the oppressor? No, I can't do it. And he says, because I'm a man of impeded speech. I can't talk. Moses thinks about himself as being incapable. He feels like an imposter. So what does God do? How does God respond to Moses' imposter syndrome? God reminds Moses of where he came from. God spends actually the next number of verses explaining the family tree, connecting Moshe back to that line of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. God places Moses in a context. Now, we can think about a lot of different reasons for Moses' hesitation. I mean, maybe he really did have a speech impediment, and that scared him. Maybe it was Pharaoh and all that he represented. But regardless of the reason, Moses didn't feel up to the job. But God saw from the beginning that Moses had potential to become something greater than he himself ever could have imagined. And I think that all of us, when we think about our imposter syndrome, have a lot to learn from Moses, because though he too had it, he overcame it. He became the greatest of our leaders in Torah. And for us to feel that we don't have to sink into the rabbit's hole of imposter syndrome, perhaps we can think about what he did, and by understanding, like God helped Moses do where he came from, we can think about where we came from. We can remind ourselves that indeed we are supposed to be exactly where we are. We studied, we trained, we worked, we learned, we lived, we experienced. It wasn't just something that was handed to us by accident, but our journeys themselves are evidence that we are not imposters. Now, in business leadership speak, what Moses was given by God when he was told to go and confront Pharaoh is called a stretch assignment. A stretch assignment is a project or a task that is currently beyond one's level of knowledge or skill. Such assignments serve to stretch you developmentally by placing you in a challenging position in order to learn and to grow. Stretch assignments and calls to greatness often show up in moments when we feel the least prepared. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs of blessed memory shares this. I want to quote you a line from Shakespeare that I found life challenging. It comes from Twelfth Night, and it goes to the very heart of what it means to be a Jew. He says, quote, some are born great, some achieve greatness, but some have greatness thrust upon them. And Rabbi Sachs continues, I realized at a pretty early age I wasn't born great and I wasn't going to achieve greatness, though I think he kind of did. But at a certain point in my life at university, I suddenly realized that if you're a Jew, you have greatness thrust upon you. Moses faced down his inner critic. He pushed through with the support of others, of course with God, but with Aaron and Miriam, to discover that we are each uniquely qualified and suited for the task at hand. If we weren't capable, we would not have been handed that big stretch assignment in the first place. And now we might be able to find the greatness that exists in each and every one of us. Shabbat Shalom. So let us continue as we turn back in our siddur to page 586. I invite everyone to please rise for Aleinu. Shabach ladon hakol latet gdula
ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו ופסולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום השבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת, אין עוד. In the middle of page 590. כי המלכות שלך היא, ולעולם תמלוך בכבוד, ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, היום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. (595) Poem before the Mourner's Kaddish. There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. We share the names of those for whom we say Kaddish this Shabbat. I invite you to honor the memory of your loved one as I recite their name, to stand and rise in our congregation. We're in Shloshim for Beverly Golden, Alvin Samuels, and Rosalind Shirker. And we mark yahrzeit this week of Cecia Eichenwald, Hyman Atnikov, Miklos Balint, Wojciech Banzi, Cecilia Barber, Martin Burney, Ray Ann Brackett, Bryna Braille, Eva Bregman, Edith Brooks, Pearl Chalmers, Louis DeVries, Rosetta Edwards, Cecilia Eisenberg, Benjamin Fisher, Bernard Fleischer, Jacob Flitt, Julie Friedman, Harry Fugman, Bella Gertzog, Ruth Columbia, Samuel Greenberg, Joachim Grubner, Michael Heller, Kitty Heller, Doris Hoffman, Jean Louise Jenkins, Maurice Katz, Jack Kay, Alexandra Kerner, Jen Olacco, Kate Lang, Mo Lerner, Jack Levine, Hugh McKinnon, Elizabeth Martin, Samuel Mazer, Geraldine Nacht, Neil Ornstein, Avery Plow, Marcia Pauline Rose, Sam Samuels, Marion Sadek, Johannes Schipper, Sybil Francis Schack, Rebecca Shaffron, Jack Shapiro, Hannah Silver, Marshall Silverman, Eliakim Getzel Sudak, Sam Steinman, Jack Stein, Nahum Weisbaum, Gordon Wetstein. There are others who have come to say Kaddish or remembering someone in the year of mourning. I invite you to rise and share their name at this time. We stand together now as one community. I invite those who will to join in these words, page 598. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chai echon u'vyom echon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam le'almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'al v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yit'aleh v'yit'alal shmei dekudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran ve'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlam rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru
Amen.
amen. Yehi zichronam livracha, may their memories always be a blessing. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. You can have a seat. We're going to join together in a closing song and do
Unless
Kiddush.
first or after?
We'll do it after.
Order?
Yeah.
After it is?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know where I'm going. We'll conclude with Adon Olam on page 625. Adon Olam Asher Malach V'terem Kol Yetzir Nivra Leit Nasa V'cheso Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Ve'acharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Imloch Nora Ve'hu Haya Ve'hu Hoveh Ve'hu Yiyeh B'tifara Ve'hu Echad Ve'ein Sheni Lehamshilo Lehachbira Beli Reshit Beli Tachlit Ve'lo ha'oz ve'hamisra Ve'hu Eli Ve'chai Goali Ve'tzur Chevli Be'etzara Ve'hu Nisi Umanosli Menat Kosi Be'yom Ekra Ve'yado Avkid Ruchi Ve'tishan Ve'ahira Ve'imrochi Geviati Adonai li ve'lo ira.
We'll rise together for a Kiddush and Motzi. Vayerev vayivoker yom hashishi, vayachulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tzevam, vayachal Elohim bayom hashvi'i melachto asher asa, vayishbot bayom hashvi'i mikol melachto asher asa, vayevarach Elohim et yom hashvi'i, vayekadesh oto, ki hivo shavot mikol melachto asher bara Elohim lasot. Savri.
L'chaim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zicharon lema'aseh v'reshit ki hu yom techila lemikrae kodesh zecher letziat Mitzrayim ki banu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen.
Chaim.
Chaim.
Not grape. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Join us for our next Shabbat in the social hall.
What is it?